Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to explain to you guys why when someone makes the statement, well, for people who only care about hypertrophy, uh, I can't take it seriously, I don't take it seriously, and I think the actual statement's ludicrous. And I'm going to get into some reasons why, but I think part of that is that's a misnomer, and people who say lines like that are either scared to get under a heavy weight, they're too lazy to get under a heavy weight, or they actually legitimately believe that getting stronger will somehow interfere with their hypertrophy. Okay. And I will prove that that's the case kind of here, because when people say, well, I only care about hypertrophy, you don't literally mean that. Because the same people obviously care about their health and fitness, right? So that's one of the reasons they train. So they don't only care about their hypertrophy. The proof of that, they don't inject an entire bottle of Trenbolone every single week. Okay, anyone who comes to me and says, I only care about hypertrophy, and I'm like, well, why don't you trend until your eyeballs turn yellow? Be like, well, because that would be harmful to my health and fitness. Well, you just said you only care about hypertrophy. You don't care about the other aspects of lifting. Health and fitness are a big part of lifting. You obviously care about those. So you didn't really mean it. You didn't actually mean that's the only part of training that you care about. Let that one sink in. They don't actually really mean it. It's a hyperbole. Or they'll even say, well, it's illegal. I could go to jail. Well, the only reason you don't want to go to jail is because you care about quality of life then. Well, quality of life is one of the things that we seek from our training. Okay? So you lied about the hypertrophy because you care about your quality of life and staying out of jail. Therefore, it's not true. Because if you only cared about hypertrophy, you wouldn't care if you go to jail. Because you wouldn't care about your quality of life. You wouldn't care about the side effects of a substance like that, and you wouldn't care if it killed you in 5 years. So they don't literally mean that. So let's come over to what they mean. They mean that they think that if they get strong, it's going to interfere. Okay, and let's come over to someone like me. The reason I don't entertain a lot of that is because I want hypertrophy because hypertrophy makes you stronger. Okay, my primary goal is strength. And I think that's the way they need to word it. Okay, because we have a set of goals, and someone who's chasing hypertrophy right now, all right, they might mean that that's their primary goal. That it's the most important goal, not that they don't have other things that matter even directly around their training. Just like for me, strength. Strength is my primary goal. You don't think I care about body composition? I'll get leaner later, right? I care about my health. I care about my longevity. I obviously care about hypertrophy because they're interconnected anyways. I care about being jacked. Of course I do. Of course I do. But strength is my number one goal. It's my top priority out of those list of things. Remaining injury free, quality of life. So let's come over to their whole point with the only hypertrophy. The idea behind the line comes from the fact that they think that it would interfere. Well, the truth is it doesn't. Hypertrophy and strength complement each other very, very well. I personally believe that even doing maximum strength training creates a synergy with your hypertrophy work, and I would argue that it could enhance it. Not to the same degree that the other direction works. Okay. Hypertrophy training absolutely has an enormous direct carryover to your strength. 90% of your strength comes from your muscle size. Not me, that's what the data says. Again, it's not my opinion. There's a pretty large body of scientific evidence looking at athletes that's pretty much said, yeah, that's the case. 90% of your strength comes from your hypertrophy. So if you want to get as strong as possible, you damn well better get as big as possible, or at least big in the right places. Meaning, if you have certain lifts that you care about, you better make sure the primary movers are as big as you can possibly get them. You have to. You have to, or you're not going to get as strong as possible. It's just an objective fact. Well, what I find the reason a lot of these guys are afraid to lift heavy is they're afraid of injury. That's part of it. But the truth is, lifting heavy correctly is not going to injure you. Now, I have a different view on what correctly is from a lot of people. A lot of people say, well, does that mean good form? Not necessarily that. You can have some breakdown of form. Form can degrade a little bit without any serious injury risk. On a single, I don't recommend that you do it on a 4-rep set, a 3-rep set. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that'll get you hurt. 1-rep max, not so much. All right? Or they feel that it'll interfere. As if they spend any time doing any serious maximum effort work or doing a heavy deadlift, that it's going to stop their ability to do their other training. They're not going to be able to do enough. But what I would point out to them, it's still training volume. Right? And there are muscle fibers associated with 1-rep max lifts that some of the data is suggesting you're not going to maximally fatigue with volume work. I've seen Greg Nuckols put out some good stuff on that. So technically, if you're trying to push the bleeding edge of hypertrophy, there are muscle fibers you really need to get up above 90% to ensure their full activation. Well, that's going to affect your hypertrophy. If you're trying to get every last bit, and if your lifestyle's correct, you can still train with a large amount of volume. I do it. You guys see me come in all the time and hit a 1-rep max squat or 1-rep max deadlift, and they do 15 to 18 sets of high rep work afterwards. You don't think I got maximum hypertrophy from that session? Because a lot of times it's not even lightweight. You guys are watching me do 500-pound high rep glute bridges after hitting a max deadlift. You really think that lacks for volume? You can do it's fine. You can do that. It's not going to interfere with your volume. If anything, it's going to facilitate better growth. Because you've already hit the highest upper threshold fibers. You've taken them to the edge. They're now easier to fatigue. So any other use they get is going to be fatiguing. You've also already hit every muscle fiber hard for at least 1 rep, obviously ramping up. It creates overall fatigue. It is part of your total training volume, because it's training volume. The whole goal is to create fatigue. You can train heavy at the start of a session and do all your volume after. It doesn't interfere with your hypertrophy at all. If it did, I wouldn't do it because I have to maximize size to get strong. Yet my strength goes up all the time. And I think what a lot of it comes down to is that, quite frankly, a lot of them are lazy. That's usually the other reason. I find that a lot of guys who say, I only care about hypertrophy, a lot of people say, well, maybe they're in there just killing it, and then you watch them train. No, they're just lazy. All right, that's your third reason for making this statement. They're lazy, and they just don't want to do any real work. They half-ass their 10 and 15 rep sets. They don't put any weight on the bar. They leave 5 reps in reserve. And they're still tiny. So usually that's your 3 reasons. Your 3 reasons for having the mindset are not that they only care about hypertrophy. It's that number 1, they're scared of getting hurt. Number 2, they think that strength will interfere Or number three, they're just lazy and they don't want to really do any work, and it's an excuse. But the truth is, they don't only care about hypertrophy. And the point I would make with all of that is that we should care about all these things from our training. We should care about our performance. Like, why wouldn't we? If we're going to come in and train, we should get as much as we can out of it. Of course, we should care about our performance. We should care about our health. We should care about our longevity. We should care about our quality of life. We should be trying to get all of these things from our training because we can do that. Says me. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.